What's up, everybody? It's your favorite 3D printers, favorite nerd, and today we are looking at another offering from Printformers, another fan-made thing. I told you I had a lot coming. This is no exception. This is his Powermaster Optimus Prime. Now, he did want to say that this is inspired by the Marvel comic Powermaster Prime. He wanted to stay as close to his robot mode design. Because of his alt mode, it had to be changed, but it is heavily inspired by the original design. The head can be popped off and opened to swap out the eye color. And he also says some stuff for his Scorponok that he didn't need to because that stuff is good enough already. And I will include, like I said, his Facebook and Etsy shop link in the description. I will say this, you're not gonna believe it, but when I got this out and it's on the Patreon first impressions, I almost immediately broke it. And I try to be pretty cautious with this stuff because I understand that it is, 3D printed in someone's home, not forged in the fires of a factory, as it were. And I still managed to break it, which is not necessarily surprising. But what might be surprising is I fixed it. He supplied some replacement pieces in case something should happen. I was able to figure it out somehow. And I fixed it, so I'm pretty excited about it, so I do want to take a look at it. Obviously, all of the links to his stuff is in the description. Please check it out. Please tell him Scully sent you. But let's take a look at this guy. Let's try not to break it, because I really do value this stuff. But I'll tell you, looking through the instructions, there's a lot of X is fragile, Y is fragile, etc., etc. So look, we're going to do the best we can, right? But in order to do any of that, we got to start with accessories. So he supplied 2 guns. Unfortunately, I think one piece did break in transit. I wasn't even aware of this one, and he does say that the gun barrel is fragile. So theoretically, if you were printing this at home and not shipping this overseas, you wouldn't have to worry about such things. But a decent enough sculpt in black plastic, and he'll hold it just fine. The large blasters will plug into the top of the trailer. You also get 2 double barrel gray pieces, or guns rather. It's nice that they're hollowed out in the barrels as well. Once again, decent enough sculpt in the gray plastic. And they can peg into the side of his shoulders. Unfortunately, he cannot hold them as well. So you are kind of limited to just the shoulder pieces there, which I think is appropriate for the character anyway. I'll be honest with you, I'm not a Powermaster Prime expert in light of how many I have reviewed. But yes. They also stay plugged in to the same part of the shoulder during alt mode, and you can keep them in during the transformation. Now, he also sent along these hands. They are work in progress articulated hands, based on a project from Toymaker 3D with his blessing. They're currently working on a better pointing finger and gun handle integration. But they are pretty cool, and they do include some extra fingers in case you should have an issue with yours or whatever, as far as he said it for me. Decent sculpt work there. And then the third fingers here are all on a ball peg, so they'll be able to bend down. I mean, they're on a hinge, rather. It's like a tension hinge. And then the same for the index finger. You get a primary and secondary hinge. And then the thumb is on a ball peg as well, so that will actually swivel. So, pretty cool stuff. This is, I love to watch people grow in their craft. This is no exception. And lastly, he sent me a number of replacement pieces, thank goodness, because they did actually come in handy. Now, obviously, if you bought the design from him or downloaded or whatever, you could just print off as many as you needed of each piece, but it was nice of him to include it for me, so I wanted to make sure I mentioned it here. All right, so let's talk about the figure. The head sculpt is pretty spot on in the sense of like the wider head, at least that's how I envision the character. It's perhaps a little off in the sense of proportions, but I think that's kind of a small price. Like, I'm not super critical of this stuff, right? Like, for the same reasons we've kind of talked about recently. I just kind of appreciate it as art, really. So the head is on a ball peg. You get a little bit up, you get a little bit down, you get a swivel, and a little bit of confused Powermaster Prime look. The chest here, we do have the translucent blue pieces, and otherwise the red plastic, and the chest piece does open up to reveal some kind of gray sculpted details in there, which is cool. And it could probably be used to house a matrix, but not that you need it, but just saying. Nice breakup between translucent plastic, it looks like, as well as like clear plastic and then gray plastic. And the red plastic, like, it does break up all that red, which is something that I have talked about with him in the past, like that perhaps he should start considering. And it looks like he's considering it, and I think it's paying off. Like, I think that this is easily kind of the most visually interesting space from the top of his head here to the to his abdomen. So well done. The torso, I think, is a ball peg. I can't really tell, but you get a little bit down on the ab crunch, not much, a little bit up. The waist swivel kind of seems to be a bit at an angle. So as you can see, you get it, and you get it to enough of a degree, but it does sort of tend to bend. So just something to think about. Not really an issue because it does work. All right, so the shoulders themselves, this is what broke on mine. It was this, there's a thin piece here. This piece goes into this piece. He has definitely stepped up, at least in my opinion, looking at it, like the level of intricacy. And that's my heater kicking on, so I'm gonna be right back with you. The size comparison wise, there it is with the Magic Square Prime, and I mean, it's pretty comparable. It's right there in the bag, so that's pretty interesting. Kind of fun to see. And hopefully should give you an idea that it's pretty much a Masterpiece scaled Prime, which is to say it should scale properly kind of with Chug stuff too, because Powermaster Prime is supposed to be bigger, right? I think? I don't know. Like I said, I'm not an expert on the character. We used to make fun of my brother because he had the Powermaster Prime and we had the G1, and, you know, he was younger than us, and that's about all I know about him. Other than, you know, the gimmick of him and where he was in the lore. So let's get him transformed. You're supposed to have the shoulders out to the side on the sliding rail. Open up his chest. Push. Actually, you might want to come from the back and open up these little flaps here. That will allow this piece to kind of move freely. You want to push this, or you can slide this piece that the head is connected to towards the back. And then spin it around so the head sits back there. And all of this is sitting up top. And then slide it back so that it realigns. And that's pretty much it for that. I think that we can also close up your bits here so that that's all nice and clean. Rotate this top piece 180 degrees and slide the shoulders in towards the center. On the back side, take your shoulder flaps that allow you to get the arm articulation, flip that piece up, and then spin this 180, same for this side. Spin 180. And then you want to take your tires here. They are on an armature, this gray armature. Swing that around to the outside. It'll plug back into the side of the cab. And I'm just going step by step with this. So rotate the shoulders up 90 degrees so that the hands are to the back, and then rotate at the bicep swivel so that the elbow is facing towards you. Same for the other side, back, and then elbow towards you. Then you want to bend the elbow out and then rock that back so that the fist is facing the back. Then slide the forearm guard down to cover the fist. I'm not sure if I have that right all the way. You want to maneuver the shoulders back on these armatures and then plug in the forearms together. Then on the top, you want to lay this flat, lay this flat, lay this flat, and then slide the shoulders towards the front of the cab while trying to keep it all locked together. Which these windshields are giving me a little bit of an issue, but let's see. But you get the idea. The next step for the leg is a little tricky. Just spin these up and out of the way for the time being. It keeps some pressure on it because they do have a tendency to pop off. And then you kind of got to lift the knee up, and that will unlock this flap here, so that you can get the leg panels loose. And that's where we're gonna start. So we're just gonna lift the knee up. That unlocks this whole panel and allows you to move it to the outside. Once you have this unlocked and you line up these two panels, the wheels will actually slide down from this piece of plastic onto this piece of plastic. Reminiscent of the Fans Project Chrome Dome, if you recall. Very cool stuff. Do the same on this side, slide the wheels all the way down. On the inside of the panel, you'll notice this piece, spin that so that the female end is facing outward, and spin this one so that the male end is facing outward. And then these two blocks here, you want to spin up towards the center. Once again, we have a male and a female. And then you can lock those together, and actually don't do the top part yet. That's my mistake. So now this part, which is you're supposed to lift up And just that little bit will allow this to swing down. And once it has, see that part falls off there. Put the arms inside the trailer, and then you can close the trailer back up with that male-female connection and make sure all of that is tight. I'm gonna plug this in here and then collapse. And you know, that's basically it. I mean, I might have done some of these steps kind of out of sequence, but for the most part, I mean, that's it. I will clean it up and we'll take a look at it. And there it is. And I think it's flipping awesome. I like it an awful lot. It will roll. It's a little bit of a stiff tolerance, and my little soft mat isn't doing it any favors. Yeah, it's pretty cool, man. This came a little loose. But yeah, I mean, I don't have any complaints. I will say, like, this little side piece here, it is well sculpted, but like, I'm not sure if, I'm just gonna try it. These pieces have a tendency to come off anyway. If I flip these and put this on this side, just to cover up that hip joint there, because the way the peg is offset, and this on this side, like, I think I like that better, me personally. But you know, the grill and stuff still works. Like, this is where he put most of his effort, you know, color breakup wise, plastic breakup wise, even I think assembly to a large degree, and it pays off, and it pays off in both modes. So it's a smart sort of allocation of resources. The wheels, like, as you can see, they turn, they're just a little tight. So man, I don't know. I love it. I love all this type of stuff. I'm easy going on it, but if I love anything more, it would be to see what they look like next to Tiger Tracks. Yeah, good stuff. Final thoughts wise, we'll start with the negatives, and you know, negatives is really a stretch, right? For this sort of stuff, it's not really so much a negative as much a constructive criticism. Like, as far as I'm concerned, these are hobbyists. They're passionate fans that want to give back, that want to contribute, that want to have a little bit of ownership in it, and I get that. I'm all in support of it. So let's call it more of a constructive criticism. There's obviously some more fragile pieces with this. He's well aware of it, because he sent me a caution letter so that I didn't smash it to pieces with these mitts of mine. Something to just be aware of, both in the design process and in the downloading process. The only other issue that I had was the side bits that are on the legs that flip up, and I swapped the pieces, that they just kept falling off the entire time. Everything else I think was pretty reasonable. So I don't know too much about the printing process, so I guess if you are going to be printing this, just be aware of the thinner, more fragile pieces and use caution. He's making advancements here, both with the hands, also with pinned hinges. Some of the engineering that he's come up with for the articulation and how it works is pretty interesting and new and refreshing. The transformation is pretty interesting and a lot more fun than even some of the professional stuff, quote unquote. He dumped a lot of time, energy, and resources into making sure that the cab look dynamic, because that's kind of what sells it both in robot mode and alt mode. It's fairly well articulated. Like, it's a cool design. I love this type of stuff. I'm easy on it. Please hit him up. Follow him on the socials at the minimum. Tell him Scully sent you. Thank you for letting me take a look at it. And to the folks at home, thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Till next time, take care.